Very good afternoon. Welcome to Les Sables d'Olonne. It is the 42nd day on the racecourse. That means we're 6 weeks into this Vendée Globe and is the winter solstice here in Europe. Down in Australia, New Zealand, it's the summer solstice. They have the longest day and the shortest night. And the Vendée Globe, it just always feels like long days and long nights. No one really seems to feel alone on the racecourse, though, with this record-sized fleet, least of all Charlie Dallin and Johan Richomme, who are only a few miles apart, contemplating spending Christmas together at Cape Horn. They should go round on the Christmas Eve, probably, but they're in good shape. Otherwise, second and third groups are pretty close together. Nico Lunven and Jeremy Bayou are close. Sam Goodchild and Paul Maya in the third group are close, as you might expect in this record-sized fleet of 36 boats. My guest today, well, it's a big hello to Libby Greenhalgh, who's a double round-the-world sailor and meteo specialist. Libby, how are you?
I'm pretty good, Andy. Thanks for having me on the show.
No, it's a pleasure. I mean, what are you thinking of this race? You've watched the last few. This one's really engaging, isn't it?
Yeah, I just think it's incredible. One, the number of boats, but also two, how few kind of damage or dropouts we've had, which has created even more so loads of mini races within the overall race, which is what makes it so interesting, because there's a lot of little races going on within it.
Fantastic, Libby. We'll come back to you in a few seconds. We do have our live guest, Ollie, here with us. Ollie, how are you? You look good.
Yes, thank you, Andy. I'm very well, thank you.
How's it going on board Toot Good? Is everything good? We always love to ask you.
Yeah, it's all good. It's getting quite cold. I have to admit, even as Swiss, I have to say it's a bit nippy down here. And yesterday I discovered a bit of an issue with my keel hydraulics, that it's a little bump in the road. But apart from this, it's all good. I'm still in good nick, and the boat's in good shape as well. So no, I shouldn't complain at all.
Tell us a little bit more about that keel ram issue. You've solved it. Another challenge for you. You love your challenges, don't you? You could do without them, but you do enjoy them.
I could do without them, exactly. No, it's I mean, thankfully, I know these systems quite well. I've spent quite a lot of time managing these systems on other boats. Yesterday, when I woke up after a short nap, I realized that my keel, actually it was 2 days ago, 1.5 days ago, I managed that I lost some keel cant. Didn't think much about it because I was about to chive anyway. Did the chive and then realized that halfway through getting the keel up to windward, the pump made a funny noise. I went down to check and realized that I've lost a lot of keel hydraulic fluid. Unfortunately, I didn't lose it into the boat, which is a mess, but normally good because you can recover it, and it's normally just a fitting or something that went. I lost it into the keel box, which would indicate that my piston seal has gone. On closer inspection, I think that's the case, meaning I still have a full working system as long as I want to can to starboard. But when I want to can to port, it's a bit of a different story. So I'm still sailing on starboard. I haven't sailed on port yet since I discovered this. So I need to adapt my my style of sailing a bit, and need to pay extra attention of managing the stack and everything perfectly to offset this little problem. But it's no reason to be too sad. Things like this happen during the Vendée Globe, and I can be quite happy that it's just such a minor failure so far, halfway through almost.
How much will it compromise you in the coming weeks?
Well, it's difficult to say really. I think I'll see it in the next couple of days. I think VMG downwind sailing, it's not that big of not a massive problem. Light wind sailing, not too much either. But if I have to reach or sail upwind in tough or strong conditions on port tack, then I think I will feel it, and you will see it on the tracker.
And how are you feeling physically at 42 days and 6 weeks since you started? You don't look any different to day one.
Well, I have to have a shave at some point, and maybe a haircut. No, but I'm feeling all right. Honestly, I'm feeling good. I'm quite looking forward leaving the Indian Ocean behind me. I mean, I've now kind of, I think I haven't got any serious fronts coming in anymore, but the last 2 weeks were quite tiring. But I try and keep it in a way, that I don't just, use up all my resources. I try and sleep enough, stay warm, eat a lot, drink some tea and some coffee, stay warm, wear all my clothes. And just in a way, take it easy, because I know there's another, 40, 50 days to come. So let's not blow everything too early.
How does it feel inside Gut? Are you warm? Do you have a heater, or do you say you're finding it chilly?
Yes. No, I do have a heater, and I have been very cautious with my diesel consumption. So far, I've used hardly any diesel. I've set off with 180 liters. So far, I've used about 35, meaning my solar panels and my hydro generators have done a good job. So I do have some diesel left for the heater, but I try not to get used to it too much. It's more, it comes in as a treat every now and then that I turn the heater on for half an hour and dry some socks and heat myself up a bit.
That's the most important thing, is dry socks, isn't it? Listen, we have Libby Greenhalgh with us, so obviously we have to stay strictly within the rules. She's just going to say a quick hello.
Hey, Ollie. Great to see you.
Hey, Libby, how are you?
Good work with everything so far. We were having a good chat about you at Sharon's winter queue. Keep on pushing, mate.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you, Libby. Have a good one. See you soon in Hamble.
Yeah, for sure.
Libby, I mean, Ollie's got a big following at home in the Hamble then, hasn't he?
Yeah, no, definitely. And there's, as I said the other evening, we were all chatting about how he's getting on, and everyone's super excited and loving watching him race around in the Vendée. And super proud of how he's doing. We also always kind of comment on how cozy he looks in his boat, and really looks quite comfortable.
He does. Ollie, what's your guilty secret? We want a confession today.
My guilty secret? Well, I don't know if it's really a guilty secret, but in the last week I managed, or I decided to sleep a couple of times more than just an hour. I lay down for 2, 3, once even 4 hours. And it's just amazing what it does to your body. And I've got a really warm sleeping bag. And when you decide to take all your wet weather gear off and your boots off, and you put a dry pair of thermals on, and you can go into your sleeping bag for 4 hours. I know, it's not really the most competitive thing to do, but for your body it does wonders. And at the moment I treat myself to this every 3 or 4 days.
Ollie, it's all about listening to your body, and it's good to know that you're on such good form, having a great race, sticking to your disciplines, your limits, and we'll catch up in a few days, hopefully before Christmas.
Cheers, Andy. Thank you very much. Cheers, Libby. Bye-bye, guys.
Cheers.
Have a good one.
So, Libby, obviously you know Ollie pretty well, but he's really impressive, isn't he? He seems so cool and laid back and loving it. I mean, partly, I think, due to the fact he had such a bumpy road to get to the Vendée Globe.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, he's had some pretty tough sort of breakages and issues on the way to really get the qualification miles in, as well as and was basically last one through the door. But it's been amazing to see him get to the start line, and also in such good shape, and especially so far, like his race so far has been, it's very much about kind of it's his first Vendée, so there's an element of let's get the boat round, and I think everyone who's probably first got into it, it's all too easy to probably go hard too fast and end up being with that being the end of your story. So it's not even halfway. There's plenty more to come, both in what will happen weather-wise and just people-wise, in terms of just how you manage yourself. So as much as he says guilty secret of sneaking in some 4-hour naps, I've definitely heard some other sailors say they've done that before and actually gained from having done it. So it's good that he's taking good care of himself as well, because I think that's part of the race, as much as people almost feel seemingly guilty about it.
And Libby, I think it's no guilty secret that he's already talking about the next Vendée Globe. I don't think you should tell his wife, but that seems to be the way of it, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely for him, and I think the T's well aware. It's hopefully the start of a longer kind of existence within that Vendée. And I think for that's what sort of happens. People do it, and it gets in your blood. It's a bit like the ocean race. It kind of bites you, and you wanna keep going. And yeah, I think we'll probably see plenty more of Ollie in this race.
I think they're planning to do a Swiss team for the ocean race. But Kojiro Shiraishi, he's been through the wars in terms of the wind conditions he's had recently. He's still got big waves, and this is Koji on DMG Morai earlier on today.
今まででもね、一番波が高いですかね、一発すごい8メートルとか、それぐらいの波が来ます。で、あともう一つ、晴れてます。すごく、久しぶりにね、晴れてるっていうか、スコールはあるんですけども、スコールだとやっぱり38ノットぐらいの風が来るんですが、久しぶりに太陽を見ました。昨日も星が見えてましたね。だから大きな波の中で風も30ノット前後ということで非常に走りにくいですね。波が高い分波に突っ込んでしまうので。
Well, Saturday's weather generally focusing on the approach to Cape Horn for the leading trio, but in general they have fairly decent conditions, generally downwind, a little bit of this front just in front of them, but they are in northwesterly conditions. We'll have one more jibe to do and then it should be fairly straight for them. Just watching this animation now, come down to the exclusion zone. And it's all about timing that initial jibe, and then they're just getting the first of this low pressure behind, which you see the second and third groups are into at the moment, but generally a straight line into Cape Horn for them. A little bit of high pressure up here, just a lighter breeze, but they have a straight line all the way in. Meantime, this low pressure system developing behind the second and third groups, a low pressure or secondary low develops, which is what they're going to have to watch out for, because it could see winds of up to 50, 60 knots and that. So we're going to see the second and third groups perhaps routing up to the north for that. But then just playing the animation forward, watching a straight line into Cape Horn for the two leaders. The leaders getting into slightly lighter breeze, so perhaps a little bit of compression for Sebastian Simon as they come in, and then watching this situation back here with this secondary low developing, and it's all about trying to stay north of it and come down in the north-westerly breezes for them. So that's the situation for the leaders. For the second group, well, first of all looking at Sam and Clarice Kramer. Now getting into downwind conditions, Benjamin Dutroux actually in a slightly better position, not running into this high pressure system. So a chance for Benj to catch up a few miles perhaps. Meantime, the group behind, generally fairly decent conditions, although running into lighter breezes and having to stay a little bit further to the north. So, and the third group, this is the group that we see Oliver Heer in, just coming in through Cape Lewin, approaching Tasmania in southwesterly conditions, fairly good for them. But watching at the back, we're highlighting the situation for Jin Kun Chu, who's coming out of this low pressure system, will have to route up to the north, but he's got pretty difficult conditions over the next 24 hours or something like that. Just having a quick look at the situation for him just now, this deep low coming through from the Kerguelens, and he's got strong conditions, 50 knots from the northwest, so it's going to be a difficult time for Jin Kun Chu, but fairly straightforward for the leaders into Cape Horn. Indeed, Libby, looking fairly good for the leaders coming into Cape Horn, fairly straightforward situation for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've got a nice straight run in there, but it does mean as they come around the corner, the setup in the South Atlantic is not looking particularly straightforward, and it will be interesting. I think we'll definitely see further compression across the fleet, given what's happening around the bottom part in the South Atlantic. But yeah, I think the other, for me, sort of eyes on in terms of approaching Cape Horn, it's going to be that second group with that secondary low, bit of variation in how the models are developing that, and depending on how quick they get towards Cape Horn, they could well be in some pretty nasty stuff on the approach to Cape Horn with that low squeezing into Cape Horn into South America. You get some very strong winds, often a lot stronger than the models are going for. So yeah, definitely sort of in the region of those 50, 60 knots will be not unlikely.
I mean, Libby, obviously not all our followers on the show are sailing geeks. Explain to us why Cape Horn has such a fearsome reputation and why it's so deserved.
I mean, basically, it's kind of the setup. You know, you've got the Andes running down the running down the spine at the edge of South America, and with that, the way the weather sort of interacts with that, you know, that is quite significant, and effectively it forces the low pressures around the bottom, and you get a squeeze in the winds. Basically, it accelerates the winds basically around Cape Horn. So no matter how much weather modelling you have, it's always the acceleration of the land effects aren't necessarily captured that well. And again, just, you know, it's a remote part of the world, so there's not a lot of information that has been fed into sort of the weather models in that part of the world. And so again, you know, the variation is quite significant. And I think that can, you know, it's almost that whole aspect that plays into it, in that you often think one thing and then you get there and it's quite different. But you know, equally, people have gone around in not a lot of wind, but my experiences have been really quite windy, sort of 50, 55 knots. So as just the mean, never mind what was gusting above it.
And with that second group, do you see anybody taking a different option, or do you think they'll all tend to stick together given the weather outlook for them?
I think probably also the difficult thing with this situation is, you know, the only real escape route is to go north, but you have to go a long way north to kind of run away from it. I mean, typically the more traditional or easier escape route would actually be to go south over the top of the low and, you know, just run away from where the strongest winds in association with any low would be. But obviously you're wedged between an ice gate, and so that doesn't really help the situation. So I think, you know, there isn't really an escape route, and I actually think you don't really want to be approaching from that northwest side and trying to come down the coastline. So I think the majority, I think they'll probably just stick together and just be like, we'll just ride this out, storm jibs up, and see how we go.
I did a certain strength in being together. Libby, we're going to talk with Sam Goodchild, whose race has been pretty impressive so far, and this is Sam, who we spoke to this morning.
It's all right. I just got out. I had a little sleep, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get some sleep. But it's been pretty full-on conditions all afternoon. But I managed to get 45 minutes. So I'm happy with that. No, I'm gonna have to go check it's going. The wind's dropped quite a lot. Actually, it's. When I went to bed, it was gusting 35, and then when I woke up, it was down to 25. But the sea state's still quite big, so it's not very easy to manage. Trying to find a way of going fast but not too fast, because the waves are just big.
And you're quite close with Paul.
Yeah, I still haven't seen him yet. Apparently he saw me yesterday, but I haven't seen him yet. But I'll trust the position reports are real.
What's on the cards for weather-wise the next few days?
So the wind's probably most in the sea state centre most about now, so we're expecting the wind to start dropping a bit. And the sea state as well, fortunately. And then we're downwind with a few jibes for the next 2 or 3 days. And then the 24th, we get a little bit of a lighter patch. And there's a little less wind. And then coming into the Horn, then the wind's coming back in again. And it depends a little bit on how we get on between now and then, whether we go fast or slow, and how the weather system develops. But generally, on the whole, we've got wind all the way to the Horn.
In the meantime, you have any insights into the King's speech for Christmas? Obviously, you've been helping him, I guess.
Yeah, for playing the King's speech. Yeah, I've been helping him out. Yeah.
It's our longest night, shortest day, and your shortest night, longest day, where you are.
Yeah, it's true. I guess the difference for us, it makes quite a big difference how far south we go. We're at 53 south now, and we were at 56 to 57 2 days ago. And the difference is actually huge. When we were at 57 south, it basically was never night. You always see a glow. And tonight, I've had at least 2 hours already of pitch black. So, yeah, I mean, they're short nights, but it makes quite a big difference. There's 2 or 3 degrees further south you go down here.
What's your guilty pleasure at the moment? Is there such a thing?
I got a massive Toblerone. I'll show it to you if you like. Yesterday.
See, that's
It's
amazing.
got 2 days written on it. They reckon I can make it last 2 days. It's torture, isn't it?
That's a sign of how disciplined you are, Sam. I would eat it all in one. Libby, we're joking there with Sam about his discipline, but that's been the hallmark of his race, hasn't it? He's stayed disciplined, he sailed his own race, and he's still in there fighting.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been super impressive to watch, and obviously comes across very well off the boat as well. But yeah, I think probably the biggest thing that's been really interesting to see come off that is just the difference, obviously, between the latest generation foilers and his, and the impact that's having in being able to handle some of the conditions out in the Southern Ocean, particularly the sea state. Obviously, it just shows that the iterations each time in development, and while from the sort of onlooker, it's not necessarily really obvious as to what the differences are, but then just how the boats handle and how much easier they are to sail at sort of, still not easy, but easier to manage and sail and keep those higher average speeds is quite interesting.
But he's living it, he's not getting too frustrated because of that, and he's going well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's probably biggest hats off to him. He's, being able to accept that and still push and sail in his own race. And, actually it'll be interesting to see when they spin the corner of Cape Horn, things might lend themselves a bit more back to his type of boat if it all goes quite light and different.
Thanks, Libby. Now, Nico Lunven, we've heard, has just had a small problem with his baton car. He's repaired that overnight. But this was Nico earlier on today, and he's going well and is talking about the weather.
So we are almost in the middle of the South Pacific Ocean. 1 week to go to the Cape Horn, roughly. I was expecting very long and smooth Pacific swell, but unfortunately we have a very short and sharp sea state with 25-30 knots downwind, so not very comfortable. Quite hard to find the right way to handle the boat, because if you are going too fast, you break everything, and if you try to slow down, then you don't move forward. So very, very hard to find the right setup for the boat. And also the wind is very up and down. Sometimes you have 20, sometimes you have 32 knots. So quite challenging.
Well, the midday news in terms of the rankings is that Johan Riesholm is once more on top, but pretty much alongside Charlie Dallin. Today, only 2 miles between them. Dallin was leading last night, Johan back on top. They're 216 miles, or certainly Sebastian Simon is 216 miles behind the leaders in third place, but a very solid third place for him, over 900 miles between Simon and Thomas Riong. Riong just a little bit of advance over Nico Lunven. Jeremy Bayou and Nico Lunven 1092, 1092, exactly the same distance to Cape Horn for the 5th and 6th place boats, who have been really together for most of the Pacific. Meantime, Yannick Bestaven in 7th, Boris Herrmann catching him just progressively. Boris is now only 35 miles behind the winner of the last race in 8th place. So Boris having a really good Pacific so far. Sam Goodchild is about 7 miles from Paul Mea. Said he, well, certainly Paul told Sam that he's seen him. Justin Metro in 11th, Sam Davis 13th. Our other internationals just running through. Isabel Joshka in 17th. Giancarlo Padotti in 18th, pretty steady. Alan Rura 19th. Conrad Coleman 26th, just ahead of Eric Bellion by about 60 miles. Kojiro Shiraishi in 30th. Ollie Heer going well in 31st. Jinkun Chu in 33rd. And Dena van Veenberg, I beg your pardon, our Belgian skipper in 36. So that's the rankings at 1 o'clock French time, midday UTC today. So Libby, we're talking about Cape Horn. The race history dictates that 8 out of the 9 skippers who went round Cape Horn have gone on to win the Vendée Globe. What's your thoughts on that, and where do you think this race might be decided?
I mean, I think it's going to be all to play for when they come around Cape Horn, looking at the current situation. I mean, obviously, it's still a few days out, so things can change. I think the lead group there's a small chance they might be able to squeeze round and sneak up the South American coastline. But basically, the high pressure's setting up, and it's a long way round to potentially go around the outside and outside the Falklands, but I think we could see some pretty big strategic decisions being made, and definitely some significant compression in the next sort of week or so, and then we'll start to see how people manage to wiggle up along South America, because it's not looking straightforward at all.
Libby, who do you prefer between Charlie Dallin and Johan Richomme in meteo terms, meteo strategy terms? Is there anything to choose?
Oh, that's a difficult one, but I think I don't think you can really pick between them when you look at how both are sailing this race so far and the decisions they're making. I guess maybe Charlie's a bit bolder with some of his decision making, and the fact that he chose to tough it out along with Simone in the strongest winds. But yeah, I think it's pretty difficult to choose. I think they've both got a wealth of experience that and I think they're probably going to be loving racing each other in the way that they are.
Indeed, Libby, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you'll join us again before the end of the race, and have a great Christmas, and enjoy your new dog when it comes.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, same to you. Have a good Christmas.
So there we go. Libby Greenhalgh, our meteo expert, 2 times round the world racer, joining us. She's our guest today. Now, don't forget that the Vendée Mag, the 7th edition of the Vendée Mag, is live on YouTube. It gives you a quick insight into the last week. There's an interview with Guillaume Vendée, I believe, and this really gives you a flavour of what's been going on over this 7th week of racing. So do look out for that on the YouTube channel. So let's have a quick look, a quick recap, a teaser for the Vendée the Vendée Mag Programme 7.
This 7th Vendée Mag, trials and tribulations abound as the race reaches the halfway point. Maxime Sorel, convalescing following his retirement, is this week's expert. And we meet up with Guillaume Verdier, the architect behind many of the leading boats.
So that is the Vendée Mag 7, which is live on YouTube at the moment. So do have a look at that. It gives you a great summary of what's going on at the moment. So that's all we have time for today. Join us tomorrow. We'll be here at the same time, same place, sailing into the sunset with Conrad Coleman, who's had his issues over the recent days. Hopefully we're going to catch up with him, our crazy Kiwi, in the next few days. Meantime, we'll see you same place, same time tomorrow.
It actually hurt my butt when I was sitting in my captain's seat on the inside of the boat, because the boat bounced so hard that I got launched up out of it and then slammed back down into it. So, excuse me, I probably should have filmed that, but yeah, it wasn't very comfortable. And so now the evolution of the situation, well, sunset, beautiful, long live the Southern Ocean. Is that we're going into a bit of a light patch over the next couple of days, and so probably in 12 hours I'll drive over, start heading south again, and yeah, rendezvous, little meeting up with southern New Zealand for Christmas on the 25th, it looks like. So lighter conditions, it's going to be nice to have a little bit of a change, get the big sails up, get the big fruit out, and a bit of a change of scenery. Looking forward to that.